Hi. So once you have clarity with all these parameters, the next thing that comes is what is a market quadrant? What does a market quadrant do and why do you need it? First thing is you need to understand how the market is for your product or service. Who are the players? Are there any leaders or are there any followers, or is it an unorganized segment that also is existing? Now what happens when you plan on a market quadrant, it will also give you clarity with regard to the positioning component. So it will also lead you how you would like to position your product or service. Let us understand with a product. For example, if you are manufacturing chairs. In a market quadrant, you will have an unorganized segment wherein you have people who sell it without any brand or without any name also. Then you have a leader, and then you have the followers, and the fourth quadrant is where you try to come in. So when you're trying to come into that fourth quadrant, you need to understand what is your USP, or what we call it as unique selling proposition. This is going to play a vital role here to understand how are you going to enter the market and which segment of the market are you going to occupy in. For example, if it is a services, like for example, if you're trying to provide grocery delivery services, which could also be divided as an unorganized segment where people would have ordered directly from a vendor who is known to them. Then you have a leader who is already built into a certain extent, and then you have a set of other companies which are also in the same segment. Now what market quadrant helps you is how are you going to position your USP, or what is it that you are going to be separate all about comparing to the other three quadrants which are already there in existence. So market quadrant will automatically help you in understanding the positioning, which can be either in terms of the product itself, the packaging, the pricing, the services. A lot of plethora of things fall into picture. Now this can be easily drawn in when you put across a market quadrant. Also, what happens when you put across a market quadrant is it will give you clarity what is the target segment that you are trying to look out for. Are you trying to poach the unorganized segment that is there, or are you trying to copy what the followers are or what the already a leader has built in? So what happens here is in a market quadrant, you try to position yourself, because positioning is one of the major component to ensure that your business goes into the next levels. So it also defines what your strategy is going to be. For example, if you feel that unorganized segment is very heavy, there are many such markets where you have unorganized segment. Let us take for an example, if you are a niche exotic fruits importer. You have decided to start a business wherein you are going to import exotic fruits. Now, where you see here is you have a huge number of unorganized segment, because it is an individual importer or an individual buyer, individual seller, right from a person who is pushing cart in your area to sell it around. So what happens is you can make a positioning. I'm going to reach out to the people who are into the unorganized segment and convert them as my customers. So this clarity is what you get when you start drawing yourself the market quadrant. Now as an importer, you can also slowly start thinking of, are you going to repackage it with your own name and push it across to get into the market. So a lot of strategies can be designed, developed, built here, keeping in mind what the market quadrant is. It will also give you clarity on the characteristics of your consumer. For example, if you import an exotic fruit which is costing X amount, which many of may not be in a position to buy it, so you can easily come out with a target segment saying only niche customers are going to be my end users. So accordingly, you can start building your target to them, and the same way you can slowly start building your market. Now what happens in a market quadrant is it also gives you clarity what is the overall 100% and which is the segment that you can go in and capture, or the low-lying fruit. All these strategies of management, how to enter in the segment, how to take on to the competition, will all be drawn in when you write a clarity on your market quadrant, which will give you enough reason as how you need to approach it. For example, let us say you are into merchandising, wherein you are manufacturing t-shirts. Now, when you look at this industry as a overall, you will find 80% of this industry is into the unsegmented, whereas the other 20% is taken by the brands. Now, you cannot get into a direct competition with the brand. So what you would be looking in is, how can I convert this unsegmented into a segmented one? So all these pricing strategies or your advertising strategies will all be drawn in on the same platform as how you want to draw in your market quadrant. Hope it's clear to you.